My name is Jeanette, and I'm the founder of Aura, and I help women with pelvic floor issues such as urgency, prolapse, and leaking. And I wanted to do this presentation in celebration of International Women's Day. I believe we need a week, but we'll take a day. I am a huge advocate of plain water. Lemon water is good as well, but for many women, they'll start their day drink coffee or black tea. That is also one of the things that normally you wake up in the morning and drink as well. So, what we're going to cover in this seminar is the urgency to go to the bathroom when you just went. When you're going out somewhere, you plan around where the nearest toilet is. Also, you may wake up multiple times during the night, which is annoying. And let's be honest, at our time of life, um, sleep is disrupted anyway, so waking up multiple times to go to the bathroom as well is highly annoying. And one of the things that you might have done is reduce your fluid intake to reduce the feeling of urgency. And this isn't always something that we like to talk about, even in your friend group. Not everybody wants to discuss it because for some of us, it is a sign or a feeling of being on the decline and feeling like you just don't have control anymore. But bladder leaks and urgency are quite common. Let's be honest, the longer that we're living, it's pretty normal for things to start to happen in our body. So you're not alone, but there are things that you can do about it. And if you do end up going to the doctor about it, not everybody does, not everybody wants to go. Sometimes we don't feel like it's reason enough to go to the doctor, but a lot of times we're told that what did you expect at your age? And also that is part of getting older. If you do end up going to the doctor, some of you are prescribed tablets or creams, which do work or feel like they work at the beginning. And what I mean by that is, when you need your hair done and you book your appointment to the hairstylist, and then all of a sudden your hair behaves itself, and you think, why am I going? Do I really need to go now? Or you have a toothache and it nags, 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 and then you phone the dentist, book your appointment, and all of a sudden it doesn't bother you so much. So it's that action of doing something. So that's why some medications and creams that you're prescribed may feel like they work at the beginning because it's that action of doing something about it. So sometimes that is a stronger feeling and emotion than pills and creams actually working. And like I said, you may start to reduce fluid intake, and you may start to wear what I like to call just in case pads. So those are pads that will reduce your stress because let's be honest, if one day it does develop into an accident, you don't want anybody to notice. So you're going to wear those just in case pads just so that you're not going to be embarrassed. And for some women, bladder leaks and urgency, some of you are waiting until it's bad enough to warrant surgery. So the bladder and your brain talk to each other, and they are connected. So that's why your bladder is trainable, and a lot of the urgency, and I'm not going to say all of it because it's not all of it, but some of the urgency is related to your nervous system. So, for example, if you're about to do a presentation, if you're about to go on stage, go into a meeting, just somewhere where you're feeling nervous, you've got to go to the bathroom. You go to the toilet just in case. And it's just what you think, okay, I need to go, I need to go, I need to go. But you've gone 20 minutes ago, but you feel like you need to go again. So that's your nervous system kicking in and making your bladder, So if you doubted that your bladder and your brain were connected, or that your brain rules your bladder a little more than you would like to believe, that is a great example of that nervousness that you feel before that meeting, whether it's a race, like you said, going into that Zoom meeting, doing a presentation, it's like, I better go. So your bladder is trainable, but it's going to come, a lot of it's going to come from your mind and your thoughts. Now, this isn't going to work if your bladder is completely full. You're going to realize the difference between a full bladder and you have to go. So please don't turn into a camel and think, I'm going to wait 4 hours before I go again because Jeanette said I've just got to tell myself I don't need to go. It's not going to be like that at all. However, I want you to try and eliminate that just in case bathroom visit, because going all the time like that is going to start to train your bladder to send you those signals that it's full and it really isn't. And adding that frequency into your day is really annoying. So several factors can influence your bladder behavior. So we'll talk about fluids. So throughout your day, so again, we discussed coffee. If you start your morning with a coffee or a black tea, that is an irritant to your bladder. So your bladder is going to try and eliminate it. It's going to be agitated and it's going to want you to get rid of the agitation. So caffeine, carbonated drinks, and even flavored water, anything that you open in a can. So I know many women will say, oh, but I drink, oh, I can't really give an example, but a flavored water in a can or something carbonated. So they believe that that is part of their fluids which are good for their body. And in fact, they are irritants to the bladder. So anything carbonated, caffeine, and including black tea, because not everybody realizes there's caffeine in black tea, that can also lead to bladder irritation. And also going just in case. So, for example, you get up in the morning, you go to the bathroom because you have to. Then maybe you're leaving the house in about 40 minutes. You might go again. Maybe you're driving to work, which may be, let's say, another 40 minutes. I seem to like that number today. And you go again. And the feeling to go may be there, but the amount of urine that passes doesn't really warrant the need to go just in case. So what I would like you to start to try and do, and again, this is going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight because we are trying to develop a lifestyle habit. So go in the morning as soon as you get up, and then think about how the next 4 hours are going to look. Where do you have to go? Where do you have to be? And do you really need to go again, just in case? Do you need to go before you leave the house? Are you driving to work? Are you going to be in the car for 3 hours? Or are you driving to a class? Because if you're driving to a class, you're probably going to go again, just in case, just before the class starts. So I would suggest to eliminate the one bathroom break, wherever that's going to be. Everybody's going to be different and every day is different as well. So it depends on how your day is looking. And also your stress level is going to have an effect on your bladder. So if you feel like, those days when you feel like you're just revving on high, you just can't quite take a moment, you feel like go, 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 go. And by the time you go to bed, your brain, everything hurts. And it's like, oh my God, I just feel so stressed out. So your nervous system is on high drive, and that is also plays a part in how urgency starts. So what we will do is we will go to the bathroom too often. We will restrict those fluids. We'll tense the body in that. So let's say, for example, you went to the bathroom, half an hour later, you need to go again, or feel like you need to go again. Then what's going to happen? You are going to start to squeeze, because if you're not close to a bathroom, you're going to start to squeeze the muscles at the bottom of the pelvic floor. You may cross your legs as well. You may have a little hope and a prayer, but you will clench and tense the body because you feel like you need to go when you actually don't. And maybe with me talking about that right now, you may be, oh. So if you did, please let go. You don't need to add that aggressive clench at the bottom. And that is also part of the problem, is that clenching, which creates tension in the body, because those little muscles at the bottom of the pelvic floor are not responsible for your urgency. So how bladder training or bladder retraining works is that we try and put a bit more time between each visit. And again, everybody's very individual, everybody's day is different. So I want you to look at your day and maybe think, where can you eliminate one visit? Just start with one. You want to start small because you don't want to feel like it's overwhelming. And so you want to gradually increase the time between your visits. I also want you to think about calming down your nervous system. So calming down those urgency signals and doing something like taking some deep breaths, using your nose if possible, as long as you don't have a cold. I want you to take some nice deep breaths. And when you breathe in, I want you to move. So let's assume you're wearing a bra. I want you to move around where your bra band is. I want you to use the lower ribs because that is where your diaphragm sits, and your diaphragm and your pelvic floor are connected. So taking a couple of slow, deep breaths. So you know when you're at the doctor's and they put the stethoscope on your chest and they ask you to take a deep breath. I want you to take a couple of those, and that will help to reduce the panic and the urgency of, oh my gosh, I gotta go. Just relax a little bit and clench those core muscles at the bottom of your pelvic floor and take some nice deep breaths. These are very small, actionable steps that you can take throughout your day. So these habits are going to start to make a small difference in your day. And they'll take a little bit of time. This isn't going to happen overnight, but it is a lifestyle habit that we are trying to change. So reducing caffeine, and I'm not saying to completely cut it out. If you are somebody that feels like you need to be fueled by caffeine, maybe that's another seminar for another time. Uh, I understand caffeine has its place. I would not rely on caffeine to give you that energy to get up and go. I believe that movement and exercise in the body is better than that. But like I said, that is probably another seminar. So reducing caffeine, especially first thing in the morning. What I would like you to try, which some of you are already doing, is a glass of plain water. Not asking you to chug it all down. And I know some of you are like, oh, but I don't like that. It's tasteless. But if it's better for your bladder and it takes out some of the annoyance during the day, why wouldn't you? You know, it's just something small, and like again, you don't have to chug the whole glass. In fact, I would suggest, if possible, take small sips throughout the hour, throughout the day. Don't chug it all down. Just take small sips and stay well hydrated with plain water, no flavors, no powdered stuff in here where you have to stir it up and it's like bright blue or bright red. Keep it plain, and your bladder will have a better day because of it, and so will you. So when urgency hits, if you have been to the bathroom within the hour and you get a feeling of ugh, and you've clenched, I would like you to take a few deep breaths using your diaphragm, so around your bra band. And I want you to think of breathing 360 degrees, so the front ribs, the side ribs, and the back. Take a couple of calming breaths. Try and relax and clench. And also, if you're sitting or if you're standing, I would like you to think about lifting your rib cage off your pelvis. So instead of everything being squashed, I'm just going to lower this a second and stand back a little bit. So what do I mean by that? Slouch and slump throughout the day. And I would like you to stand a little bit taller and put a little more space between your ribs and your hips. So think of those bony landmarks. You want a little more space. Stand or sit a little taller. If you're in that meeting, we want to avoid that sort of slouched feeling. If you're in that meeting, sit a little bit taller. Take a few slow breaths and try and calm down the nervous system. Now, if you have chugged about 4 of these just before the meeting, you do probably need to go. I'm not saying to just to hold it on because Jeanette said, but think about how much fluid you've consumed. When was the last time you went? Do you really need to go? Because these habits over time, going just in case can just, it's going to repeat. It's going to be on repeat and it's never going to change. So these things do take time. So things like the breathing, your posture, like I just said about standing taller, and movement and those deep breathing exercises. And if you're somebody like me, and I used to roll my eyes when I was in classes and people would talk about breathing, I think, oh my gosh, like we do it all the time. How can it be so difficult? But your breathing, when you do it well and you focus, you will notice a difference. A lot of us go through the day very shallow breathing, using our mouth. When you want to try and use your nose, if possible. Like I said, it's cold and flu season. Breathing through your nose is not always possible, but trying to use your nose to breathe and breathing and using your lower rib cage and stretching your bra band. And if you can take 3 deep, long breaths, you've got to focus and do it, because if you're multitasking, it's not going to happen. You want to take those long, deep breaths. Start with 3. Do a little more if you can, but start with 3, and it will help to calm down the nervous system, because your bladder, your brain, nervous system, it is all connected. So doing those couple of things throughout the day will help. And one of the ladies that I was seeing and who signed up for a 12-week program she loved to run, but it got to the point where she said, Jeanette, I feel like I need to go in the bushes because I feel like I can't get home in time. So she started to reduce the duration of her run, which, let's be honest, as we're getting older, that, we need bone building exercises, we need the impact. So reducing fluids, and it is not a solution. And that is what this lady was doing. She was reducing fluids before she went for a run, because she wanted to go for a run and not have the stress of feeling like she needs to go. And dehydration is another bladder irritant. You want all of the systems in the body, your lymphatic drainage system, they all need water to keep them moving. So the approach that I use is different to a lot of other pelvic floor physiotherapists. I don't teach Kegels. Kegels are, well, I kindly bought my little muscles at the bottom of the pelvic floor. This is the anus and this is the vaginal opening. So a lot of us will try and do Kegels and we will just squeeze these poor muscles at the bottom of the pelvic floor and hope that that is going to solve the problem. Doesn't work. So I don't teach Kegels. We retrain the breath. We change the internal pressure in the core system and strengthening the deep core muscles and building from the inside out. So, a couple of things that I wouldn't recommend. Kegels for a start. And if you were like me, after I've had three children, and every time I would go to the doctor, you got your 6 week checkup and they prod your belly and make sure everything's back in place and then just say, off you go. And I went jogging with the dog because it was time efficient. It was a break for me, and I was given that green light. So, and then I had a couple of issues with leaking, which I was quite horrified about, to be honest. And then I was told to do my Kegels, and I was like, well, what are they? And so I would stand at the bus stop and I'd be squeezing, squeezing. I would proudly stop a flow of urine midstream because I thought that was a sign of pelvic floor strength. Please don't do that either. That is a big no-no because, again, you're confusing your bladder, who the bladder just wants to release and let it go. And if you keep stopping a flow of urine midstream, you're confusing the bladder, which will eventually not empty properly, which can develop into UTIs. So Kegels have their place, but 80% of women do not need Kegels. And things like restricting your fluids throughout the day, rushing to the bathroom at the first sign of, oh my gosh, I gotta go. Remember, you're going to take those doing those deep breathing exercises. And also, there are things that you can do which will reduce your chances of surgery, or if you are a surgical candidate, it will improve the success rate of surgery. A couple of my clients, one was a gynecologist and the other one was a general practitioner who had the bladder mesh surgically inserted. And 5 years later, it stopped working. So it worked at the beginning and it gave her a false sense of hope that now she didn't have to do any pelvic floor work because she had this mesh supporting her bladder. But over time, these things work at the beginning, but they are not sustainable. So thinking that surgery alone is the only answer is false information, unfortunately. So I wouldn't recommend Kegels. I wouldn't recommend restricting the fluids. When you feel that sense of urgency, especially if you've gone within the hour and you have not been chugging down a load of water, then I would suggest do some deep breathing as long as you haven't been chugging down pots of coffee. So if you're chugging down the caffeine and the black tea, I would suggest reducing it. I'm not asking you to break all of your habits, but something like that is going to make quite a difference. Now, if you would like to go through some of these exercises with me, I have a upcoming workshop. It is going to be next Saturday at 10 a.m. Toronto time. So if you're watching in the UK, it's going to be 3 p.m. Yes. Oh, my brain. And it's go if you're watching on the West Coast, it's going to be at 8, no, 7 a.m. Sorry. Ooh, that was a lot. And we will go through these exercises together. And these tips might be enough for you, and that's fine. But if you would like to be guided through some of these exercises a little bit more, I am hosting a workshop next Saturday. So the workshop is for you if you would like to have a little more accountability and you'd like to have a better plan of how to set up your day. So if you're finding that you're a little consumed. And let's be honest, ladies, sometimes we are so busy that this isn't always on the forefront of our minds. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, or if you can't sleep, I don't want to put that on you, but if you're not sleeping, then it's one of those things that comes into your mind and you think, oh, what am I going to do about that? And it may not be an issue, or it may not be such a big issue right now, but something needs to happen to make these changes. And I'm a firm believer in living this part of our life with as much confidence as possible and not feeling like we are fading into and not fading, declining, that we're not on the decline. So if you would like to join the workshop, you can scan with your camera phone here. I'm also going to, well, before the end, I will put the link if you prefer to use a link. I'll put that in the chat. I'm going to answer some questions. I picked the top five. I picked the top five with the most recurring theme. So the first one, should I stop drinking water? I think I've answered that one already. Absolutely not. Again, we do think these things are going to work. Your bladder needs water, it needs hydration. And again, I would rather you take a glass of water and sip it throughout the day, more than one, by the way. I'm thinking of the ladies that don't like plain water. I think, oh, ugh. I personally love it, but I would suggest to take sips throughout the day instead of chugging a glass of water all of a sudden. So definitely not, do not reduce your water intake. See how much caffeine you're drinking. Me personally, I drink one, sometimes two, sometimes three, but I make sure that I'm drinking water in between. So it's important to keep up your fluid intake. Oh, my next question, what about caffeine? I think I covered that already. Caffeine is a bladder irritant. So is carbonation. So anything that's fizzy, that fizzy water that you're drinking, that's not helping your bladder either. So again, plain water, caffeine. How long does it take to retrain your bladder? Okay, it depends. It depends on your habits and it depends on how long you've had your symptoms. And I'm saying that because we are trying to change your mindset. We're trying to give you a better sense of calm and we're trying to help the nervous system. So it depends on your stress level, to be honest. So, and there are going to be some days where you're going to feel like you've managed to achieve it and it's gone really well. And there's going to be other days when you feel like things have just gone backwards. And that's okay. That's normal. And that's part of life. So please never think that you're going backwards. Sometimes we just have to deal with what's right in front of us. So these habits are, your bladder is trainable, but it does take time and it takes effort. This isn't a quick fix. It's not a pill. It's not a magic cream. This is a mindset. So it can take time and it's going to depend on how long you've been dealing with your symptoms and how much caffeine you're drinking. And to be truthful, ladies, how many habits you have. All right, how not to go so many times at night. Okay, nighttime. Oh my gosh. Let's be honest, at this stage of our life, we need the sleep, don't we? Otherwise, we wake up in the morning and feel like we've got two heads. So, at nighttime, whatever your bedtime is. Oh, before I say that, another bladder irritant, alcohol. And I don't know about you, I find alcohol, like I'm 58, I find alcohol, uh, I can't do it anymore. It makes me feel awful. Even a glass of wine with dinner sometimes that might be okay, but anything more than that. So whatever time you go to bed, I would like you to reduce your fluids 2 hours before bed. And I'm saying reduce, I'm not saying to cut it out completely. And also, what are you drinking those 2 hours before? Are you drinking coffee? I have friends of mine that will put the kettle on and make a cup of coffee at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. I was like, oh, how can you drink that now? So if you're consuming coffee or tea or carbonated water in the evening, you're already at a little bit of a disadvantage. So minimal alcohol if you have to. I get it. Some of you just enjoy it. And if you still enjoy it, that's okay. But if you are waking up multiple times during the night, I think once is acceptable. I'm okay with that if I wake up. And it's funny, like, are you waking up because your bladder's full, or do you wake up and then you've just got to go to toilet, which either one is fine. So I feel like waking up once is acceptable. Waking up more than that is a little too much. So I would suggest 2 hours before your bedtime, whatever that is, everybody's different. 2 hours before, start reducing your fluids. If you need to take medication and everything before bed, of course, you're still going to do that. And by the way, all of this advice is not in place of anything that is recommended by your health professional. But I would suggest reducing fluids 2 hours before bed. Avoid caffeine. I would say by noon have your morning coffee, have your morning tea, and then start to reduce anything that's going to irritate your bladder. As well as fluids, some spicy foods can also irritate the bladder, but the fluids is a little more of a contributing factor than that. So how not to wake up so many times during the night to go to the bathroom, reduce your fluids 2 hours before and watch what the fluids are anyway. Is it just Kegels? No, it is not just Kegels. I am not teaching you just to squeeze these poor muscles at the bottom of the pelvic floor. We are doing more than that. We are addressing the nervous system. We're addressing habits. We're addressing lifestyle. So this is going to be a lifestyle habit. Kegels have their place. They are not great for about 80% of women. And also, unless you're seeing a pelvic floor physio that can give you a physical examination while you're doing a Kegel, you don't know if you're doing it correctly. So we are not just talking about these muscles at the bottom. We are talking about the deeper muscles that help to hold everything in and the deep core muscles. And then the last question, is my bladder too small? I always like that one. And I don't know if, and I'm not laughing at you ladies, but I do, avoid being a pee pusher. which means when you go to the bathroom, avoid pushing your pee out. I would like you to sit upright. We're not slouching, so put your phone down because sometimes the bathroom is a place of the only place with privacy. So you might be tempted to check your Facebook activity. So I'd like you to put your phone down. I'd like you to sit a little bit taller, take some deep breaths, and let your bladder do its job. Your bladder does not need your help. You do not need to sound like Niagara Falls. We do not want that pushing and bearing down. That's putting unnecessary stress and downward pressure on your pelvic floor muscles. And also, are you rushing? So some of us will push it out. So, oh, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go. So try and enjoy the moment. Let your bladder fully empty without you rushing and without you bearing down. When you've gone to when you feel like you've finished, just wait 10 seconds. Again, no pushing, no bearing down, and just see if any more comes out. And then another quick tip, like I'm not a fan of measuring and writing down how much fluid I've consumed. I don't have time for that and I don't want to do that. And what I look at is the color of your urine. So is it more on the clear side or is it more like a mustard yellow? If it's the darker that it is, then the more you're already dehydrated. So the color of your urine, if it is in a darker yellow, you are already dehydrated. When you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So that is always a good indication of how much fluid to drink. So you don't have to write a log, you don't have to write things down. Have a look at the color of your urine. If you see blood in your urine, you need to go to the doctor. I'm not here to, cause fear, but you need to go to the doctor to get that looked at. But when it comes to urine, the darker it is, then the more dehydrated you are, and that is a great indication that you need more of this. So I know some of you might think, ugh, but come on, ladies, it's important. When should you stop drinking fluids before bedtime? Okay, so yeah, so 2 hours before. 2 hours, oh, sorry, no wine, no beer. Sorry, ladies. And, let's be honest, some days you are going to, and if you enjoy it, you've got to do these things that you enjoy. But if it's stopping you having a good night's sleep, why not? Like, let's start making some changes.
The muscles around the bladder or anything. And it's good to hear that, what you're talking about in terms of like the bra strap in that area and the ribs. And I guess I'm just wondering so I'm thinking kind of like in terms of prevention and just the general sort of overall strength of core and abs and all of that, just through my regular like dancing or biking or yoga. Is that going to contribute towards prevention?
Yes and no. So I'll say no first because we need to be changing the pressure in the core system, the core and the pelvic floor. Yes, because doing these activities like doing yoga, Pilates, cycling, it helps to keep your nervous system under control because
Mm.
movement is key when it comes to nervous system regulation. So the more that you're moving, the better it is for your nervous system. So that does help because you're increasing flexibility, you're helping with your posture. So any movement is good because it will help that and help reduce that sense of urgency. But when it comes to specific exercises, it will not prevent pelvic floor issues. And the thing is too, it's regardless of whether you've had children or not, because I know women that have had prolapse and leaking issues and they haven't, it's not about having kids, even though I developed leaks. I mean, had three births, but it's not necessarily something that is a prerequisite to getting bladder issues. So we need specific focused exercises, and that's what I do in the 12-week program. I mean, the workshop will give you we'll do some movement and some of the breathing that I do in the 12-week program, but the specifics in the 12-week program are very focused exercises, and they're not Kegels, they're not bridges and clamshells or anything like that. It's
idea about. So I think if I understand correctly, when I wake up in the middle of the night, yeah, I am just like, okay, I'll just go to the bathroom, but I should not do that unless I really feel like I have to go to the bathroom.
at that stage, I think if you've woken up, if you've been sleeping for about 4 hours and you wake up, I would go to the bathroom
Okay.
because otherwise you're going to lay there and
Yeah,
it's going to be
distracted.
on your mind. You
Okay. All
know?
right.
So I would go then
Okay.
if you've been asleep for about 4 hours because I think that's going to be something that's just going to keep you awake.
Okay. All
So
right.
I would go then. But if you have been asleep for 40 minutes and
Yeah.
you wake up, then
Yeah.
I would try not to.
Yeah.
And I would in bed, I would do those deep breathing exercises and just try and relax. Like, what's your stress level? So if you're super stressed, so I would say if not going to the bathroom is going to keep you awake because now that's all you can think about, and you think, well, Jeanette said I can't go.
Mhm.
If that's on the forefront of your mind, you've got to go. You've just got to do it.
Right.
But I mean, do these deep breathing exercises before you go to bed, especially if you've had a really full-on day, where you may not have had an opportunity to unwind at the end of the day. You go to bed and you still feel like you're revving on high.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, flipping heck, that was a crazy day. So do a couple of deep breaths, breathe in through your nose. Out through your nose if you can. I mean, that's what it's there for, it's for breathing. And you can put your hands if you want to, like, if you're in bed, put your hands here. Like you want to feel movement come from the side and the front ribs. Then you know that you're accessing your diaphragm, which is your biggest breathing muscle. So we got
Mhm.
to use it. And for those of you, like, this will be in the replay, but for those of you that do yoga, a lot of times you're told to breathe into the belly, whereas you're bypassing your biggest breathing muscle, which is your diaphragm, and also breathing into the belly constantly pulls apart the left and the right side of the abdominal wall by pushing and breathing into the belly. So try, if nighttime urgency is a problem, I would try and do some deep breathing before you go to bed when you've had those days where you just feel like you're still revving on high. All these little things can help because urgency is annoying. Feeling like you've got to go all the time is annoying. But when you know that it's related to the nervous system, and there are little things that you can do that doesn't require running off to the doctor, that doesn't require a pill or a fancy cream or anything, then it makes a difference to your day instead of feeling like, oh, I gotta go again. And
Mhm.
those just in case moments, they do we need to try and change these things and and not have that sensation of needing to go all the time because training your bladder to keep going, it's not going to change anything.
Right.
Happy
Thanks.
International Women's Day.